Hey there, freak bitches, and welcome to Horrorphobia, a spooky movie review podcast, a podcast for horror lovers and horrorphobics alike. I'm Jake, and join me is Ryan
Hey, what up?
and also Ian,
Yo,
my bitch wife Emily.
Why am I in the middle if I'm right next to you?
I don't fucking know. And then Jake,
good evening, everyone.
the
The other Jake.
other Jake. We are a group of lifelong friends who review horror films. Why horror films? Because I love them.
And I fucking hate them.
First, we'll begin with a spoiler-free review, and Ryan will score the scare factor of each film. Then we'll begin our spoiler-filled walkthrough of the film, and that will be chock-filled with behind-the-scenes information about the film.
Mm-hmm.
All
Tasty.
right, so the first movie we got is The Shining.
Ooh,
What?
sounds great.
Oh,
No.
I'm shining. Oh, I'm gonna shine.
The Shining is
Shine.
in my top 5 of horror films. I love The Shining.
I'm also in my top 5 because I've only seen about 5, so like it's up there for sure.
I'm about on pace with that. This is up there just because I don't watch them very often. This is a good movie though.
We're all gonna learn a lot.
It
here.
is.
The movie is The Shining from 1980. Here's the synopsis. The Shining is a story about isolation, fear, and writer's block. Jack Torrance is the everyman who just wants for the simple things, some white man's bourbon, and for his bitch wife of a wife to not bother him while he's writing. Jack has recently accepted a 5-month job taking care of the Overlook Hotel in snowy Sidewinder, Colorado during the off-season. Accompanied by his whore wife, Wendy, and his coconut head son, Danny, the family learns of the hotel's dark and tumultuous history, and like most Americans, seem unbothered by the fact that they may be sleeping atop the bones of Native Americans. Little by little, Jack begins to lose his grip on his own sanity, all the while his son, Danny, begins to learn that the hotel itself knows of his supernatural abilities, and as a consequence of that, the hotel wants Danny to remain forever? Question mark. And that's the movie. That's the synopsis.
Did you write that synopsis?
Yes.
Because at first I was like, I thought you were reading one off, but then I'm like, I was hearing like coconut head son, and I'm like, there's no way.
Yeah.
I don't know if they would put that to print.
No, like originally I was gonna just copy the IMDb synopsis, but then I just
No, writing your own's better.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's kind of what I thought too.
Yeah, for sure, dude.
All right, so like I said, I don't know. I'm a horror movie nerd. I write down all my favorite horror movies. My top 5 are pretty much all tied really for number 1, but at my number 1 is The Shining, just because I don't know, it's just one of those movies that it's always shocked me how beautiful it was, like especially how coming from 1980, and I love it was like I think one of my first issues with horror movies is I hated knowing, certain spoilers just ruined it for me. Like, like different spoilers in movies like Signs and whatever else.
There were spoilers for Signs.
Well, I mean, like when you find out the twist for Signs is what I'm saying. Like I don't know, it kind of takes away from it. And the thing that is so attractive about The Shining is that it doesn't explain everything. It's still debated to this time. I mean, fuck. I mean, half of it, of us reviewing this movie, watch Room 237. That whole movie's just about jerking off The Shining. So
It's
I mean-
transcended its parody. Like it almost like even despite knowing lines from it, and like comedy does that a lot too, to where you're like, oh, I've heard this impersonation or joke a bunch of times, but if the work still holds up, it's like, oh, good. That even though I had I saw a cartoon version of it first or on a T-shirt, I was still interested enough to watch the movie.
right.
That's what makes it timeless. Those-
Wait, play that drop again. I didn't hear it.
I think he admitted it.
Oh, okay. The first drop, we couldn't even hear it.
No.
I'm sorry. We'll get better at this. We'll get better at this.
This will improve.
Oh god.
My notes for Room 237, because like at least on this review for me, we both watched Room 237 and The Shining, and I think I have more notes for Room 237 than I do for The Shining.
Yeah, I definitely do too. But is
Was
it
I supposed to watch that?
No,
Yeah,
not
we
you.
all- yeah.
my first line, I don't know if it's very nice to say when we're talking about The Shining, of my notes is Room 237, a movie made by virgins, because I feel like that's exactly what it was.
Virgin schizophrenics.
Absolutely.
Okay, now I definitely don't want to watch it. I don't fuck with virgins, dude.
Big old circle jerk. But
Oh man.
I mean, I guess we're supposed to give like everybody give our own review of it, 1 out of 10.
Oh, we're doing 1 out of 10?
Oh,
I
I, was,
thought we're-
well, I wasn't
thought
prepared.
we were
for
going
this.
Rotten Tomatoes.
What do you mean, Rotten? How can you can't go
percent.
Rotten Tomatoes?
Well, no, I mean like do percentage.
I
like,
thought
out
we
of
were
100.
going head
I could do a
animals.
percentage. I had 1 out of 5. I'm not prepared for either of
We
those.
can do death.
Oh God, we're all okay. Everybody give what they wrote. Doesn't matter what it is. Everybody just do a random
I have
like.
I mean,
1 out of 3 French toast pieces that I was reviewing.
Wait, what? 1 out of 3?
Mhm. Yeah.
Oh, so you didn't like it?
Oh no.
33%.
Yeah, 33%.
Yeah.
I don't
you
love
gave
The
it-
Shining. It's not my favorite movie. I like
Okay.
it more looking more into it, but
Wait, is okay? So like out of like for real though, like what did you actually rate it? 1 out of 3 French toast sticks or what?
I would eat one. Yeah.
is that out of 5?
No, she said 1 out of 3. Which is
Oh, so you're
33%.
scoring
Yeah.
1 out of 3?
Yeah, I'll give it a 33%.
Wow.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Illuminati
Wow,
It's never been
confirmed.
one of my
Yeah.
favorite movies. It's more
That
fun
is-
to look into it, but I'd still. I don't know if I'd choose to watch The Shining on my own.
Oh,
I'm so sorry.
that is hot take. Hot take. Do we have a
Amen.
drop for
I
that?
don't
Do we have
hate
a
it.
do we have a hot take drop?
Kick her out of here.
You have no good idea.
There's
That's what I think. She has no good ideas.
oh my god. Okay.
I'm always picturing 1 out of 10, so I'm gonna go on that. So I would give it a 10 out of 10. I mean, no matter what score we're going off of, I'm gonna give it a perfect score because I really don't know what I would change about The Shining. The Shining is like you said, it's one of my favorite horror films. It's still an enigma to this day. It's it gets movie nerds coming in their pants. It's just perfect. It's a great movie. I love it.
Valid.
Interesting.
Valid. You know.
Valid.
Like
Valid review.
I feel like if we do more like other different reviews, I'll be able to give a more concise. But when we select one of my top 5 horror films, I don't know what to say other than just sucking off the
Yeah.
Shining. Like
Oh yeah.
no
I
matter
mean,
what's gonna
if that's
happen.
if that's your favorite movie, then that's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
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 standard, I guess.
Who's doing the next review?
Oh, I'll do it. I'm gonna rate this one 8 out of 10 hedge animals. I've always like this movie. I kind of came into late, and from I don't know. I was more like into watching every like top 50 movie list. So it was like I was just burning through movies, and this one always ends up, even if it's just greatest movies of all time, this ends up on like lists like that. So it was just like watch the movie. So I came into it from that, and it was great from that perspective to see it just as a movie, not as a horror fan. So I didn't have any real critiques or expectations going in, and it it surprised me in a lot of ways and opened my mind to a lot of different like visual techniques and aesthetic techniques that I thought were really good. So
Yeah.
as a non mind weighted away from horror and just as movies, it was like, oh, this is a great movie. And I think after reading the book for this show, I had a sharper critique to it because I was in that mindset of comparison. But it's still, watching it again and reviewing other material around it was enjoyable. So 8 out of 10 for me.
Nice.
No, that's good.
All right,
My,
Ian, what are you giving this bitch?
I am gonna give it also an 8 out of 10. Jack Torrance eyebrows. That's my I you know I've,
Archie's.
yeah. I mean I've
Okay. Wait, hold on a second.
Archie's.
I think we just stumbled onto our rating system.
Perfect.
Like everything is just rated in Jack
Random
Torrance
shit.
eyebrows.
Pretty good. Much better than French toast sticks.
I mean I love French toast sticks. Um But yeah, so I mean I've seen this movie probably like 6 or 7 times, and like I never really had like a great appreciation for it like the first couple times I saw it, just because it was a little bit slower paced, and like most of the time I just
Mm.
fall asleep to movies anyway. So like this was like the first time I think that I could like watch it and like
Did you have a notebook in hand?
yes, and
Yeah, that helps.
yeah, for sure.
Definitely.
Like I said, this like that's like the thing I'm looking forward to the most with like this podcast is like actually like paying attention to movies, because like I said, that's like
Yeah.
one of the biggest things I struggle with anything, like any TV like shows or movies, is like I fall asleep like halfway through it. And
Yeah.
Or just putting the phone down sometimes.
yeah, for sure.
You know what I
know?
mean?
So it's like
That
it's tough.
It's
Yeah, yeah.
honestly that's kind of why I'm still romantic about movie theaters. Is that's one of the things that's great about it, is that people
Yeah.
aren't usually staring at their phones, and everybody's like,
For sure.
that's why Hereditary was so effective for
God, I know.
Emily, Ian, and I, is that it like everybody, you're just staring at the screen and just
Yep.
hoping that the movie would fucking end. Like,
Sure.
I mean, Hereditary, you have to watch either way. That'll be movie
Which,
number.
by the way,
That'll be number 10 for
God,
us to
I'm
watch.
so
no. That's way further down.
I'm
the
No,
list.
no, no,
That's
no,
excited.
no.
Absolutely 10.
Yeah,
I
movie
won't
number
be
10.
desensitized by then.
I'm so excited.
You will
for
be
that review.
after, but then we won't have a podcast, so we need you sensitized.
You want a list of the movies that fucked me up because it's long. Like
It's gonna be wild.
Let's pile on a few more.
Yeah.
yeah, like I don't that's one, and the only reason, I know we're sidetracked here, but the reason why I need more time for Hereditary is because Jake, who's a fucking horror movie junkie, said that he had to go walk around Walmart for a couple hours after watching it because he was so fucked up by it
It's a
that
movie
it messed
theater.
with his head.
yeah, it upset me.
Whatever.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. I'm like, okay,
That
if
upset a dog.
it did that to you,
Yeah.
I will expire. I will turn to dust.
That's not true.
Thanos will snap me out of existence.
That's not
like it's
necessarily
fun.
true. I mean, I guess when we go into spoilers with this movie, we'll kind of discuss like what the scariest moment for everybody. But most likely it's different for everybody.
Yeah.
And that's the great thing about horror movies is somebody can watch something like Halloween, like me, and it's like chicken soup for the soul, and then another person gets freaked out by it because they feel like it's very likely could happen.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely
Sure.
different for everybody.
And those people don't own guns, but I'm just saying, like I think, like
Let's turn this
Yeah,
into a
you're
gun
right.
debate.
Yeah.
yeah, you guys, we're not pro gun here, okay?
Take my guns.
Yeah.
All right. So Ian, you're 8 out of 10. Anything else you got to add to it?
Absolutely not.
All right, 8 out of 10 for me.
I
Ian.
hate the sound of my own voice.
I don't
I
Weird.
want
Shit,
to crawl in a hole.
Here, so
I'm only here because I don't want FOMO.
I just want to be with my friends.
All right, Ryan, what are you giving this?
I rated it an 83% good. I think, well, okay, 8.3 eyebrows, Jack Torrance eyebrows.
Torrance eyebrows.
JT.
JT.
Yeah, I think I agree with a lot of the other Jake, not host Jake.
No, sorry.
His sentiments as far as like it, a lot of the camera work and a lot of like the way that they shot things was like very impressive, especially for the time. There were certain things like I was trying when I watched this movie, like I think this is like my third time seeing it. I try to forgive like a 1980 movie for things that wouldn't fly now. But there are certain things that I'm like like I think even then I would have been like, that's weird. Like that's just like there's a couple decisions that were made that I just didn't super dig. So like if those things weren't in it, it would have brought the score up for me. But I think there are just a few dislikes I have, which we'll talk about later into the spoilers. But I think but it obviously it's a very, very solid movie through and through. But because of those few little, problems I have with it, it knocked it down a little bit to like a solid B minus. 83% good, 8.3 Jack Torrance eyebrows. However you want to look at this, yeah, that's where I put it.
All right.
I mean, we'll go over later too. A lot of people in the 80s, most people did not like this movie. It did not review very well at all.
Probably did
Really?
work.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. I feel like I probably would have been one of those people. I would have been
Yeah.
like, this sucks.
It really took the people
You just
that,
don't
like,
get it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
the-
you don't
like they
get
really didn't
it.
like totally get it. They're just too cool for it.
How much did this
Right.
movie cost to make exactly?
It was $19 million budget. I definitely did that research beforehand and not 5 minutes ago.
Wait, but how did
yeah.
it make? How much did it make?
So the budget was 19 million. The box office was 47.3 million.
All right.
And I'm not sure if that's domestic or
Huh.
So
but
Well-
I'm assuming that's just total.
Overall.
Does anybody know what Kubrick's film was before this?
was it Odyssey?
Yeah.
Uh,
was before this.
Well, which
I
I think Odyssey was right before this.
when?
Yeah, because
when
Odyssey was like mid 70s, wasn't
think it was Signs.
Yeah.
Oh wow, I'm
Oh,
super wrong.
Barry Lyndon. That 3-hour 5-minute movie that no one's seen by
Like,
Whoa.
I
Stanley
think
Kubrick.
I had it on a computer once.
Whoa.
I never.
Have
got
you
it.
seen it?
No.
Yeah,
You just had it.
that's what I thought.
Whoa. 3 hours and 5 minutes.
3 hours and 5 minutes. His,
Oh my
his
god.
film before that was A Clockwork Orange. 2001 came out in 1968.
Yeah, it was before the moon landing.
What moon landing?
Which
Every-
we'll get into.
I think I'm pretty sure that like Gone Girl was before the moon landing. Because we've never been to the moon.
Which we'll get into.
So my scare factor for this movie was 20% or 2 out of 10 Jack Torrance eyebrows. Um I
2 out of
I
10
did not
elevators
find-
leaking blood.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. 2 out of 10 bathtub girl boobs.
You got 2 of
Great
them.
boob.
That's all of them. That's
2
all the
milky
boobs.
udders.
That's all of them. Every boob that's in this movie, that's the scare
That's
One
just-
for each
factor.
boob.
Oh.
I did not find it extremely scary. There was one scene that didn't sit well with me, but it wasn't enough to make me lose sleep over it. So I don't think, because the psychological fuckers don't really bother me as much as the visual ones do.
Oh,
So like it is, the movie as a whole, I think it's more of a psychological horror than it is visual.
Yeah.
Which is why this movie particularly was easier to stomach for the pussy ass bitch that I am.
All right. Well, let's get into spoilers for this bitch. Movie opens up. It's got that helicopter shot. Everybody knows that,
beautiful
the
mountain.
music.
Beautiful mountain.
Mhm.
And then what's the next scene is Jack Torrance interviewing.
Then boom,
Yep.
Did you
Uh,
boner.
you just catch
I
that
think so.
you catch that Bill Watson boner, bro?
I don't get it.
Dude,
I don't understand.
Dude,
that.
his dick is so hard.
It's-
I have looked at that picture so
Oh,
many
Open up your
times,
mind, bro.
and
Open
all
up.
I see is a paper tray.
It's a
That's
paper
all I see.
tray. Cock.
You're obviously not
I-
open enough, lubed up enough
Yeah.
I
to see.
No, I sure look. Okay, this is coming from somebody growing up who I can point out a boob from fucking 5 clicks.
Well, we get it.
like-
We're not gay.
Like That's not what I'm saying. Emily, why are you quiet?
He moved the microphone away from me.
You son of a bitch. I think like I noticed shit. I'm just saying, like I'm looking at that. You sent that
Paper tray
screenshot.
dicks.
You send that screenshot. I'm like, I just see a dude shaking someone's hand and a paper tray. Like
And
I don't
hard
see
cock.
a dick.
You know,
Alex symbol.
dude, you got
Am I crazy?
No, there's a hard dick in that fucking scene, bro.
This is how hard
Ian,
the people.
did you see
There's
a dick?
There's a hard cock in that.
Oh
bro.
my god, you fucking.
This is
You
how
can
hard
pause
the people
anything
who
at any
love this
time.
movie are looking for a little joke. They look
It's the
so
pleats in the
hard.
pants. It's the pleats in the pants. Oh god. Yeah, okay. So I didn't see the dick, but yeah, they shook hands. He took the job, said he wasn't. He's like, I'm not gonna kill my wife. Don't worry.
Yep. And then fucking Leslie Frazier comes in the room, and he's like, I need to watch this guy. And then he just white Leslie Frazier.
Oh, for the Bills.
Yeah, the Bill Watson, the guy that actually like
I was trying to think of like who's Leslie Frazier?
Shout
What
out-
actor is this?
Shout
Yeah,
out Bills
it-
fans.
yeah the guy that like
Shout out to
sits
Bills
down
Mafia.
like during the interview or whatever. His name Bill Watson is the name of the character. He sits down. He sits next to him while fuck, I didn't write down the name of the other boss, but the other boss explains.
Mr. Ullman.
Mr. Ullman explains, the murder that happened 10 years ago.
Right. Can we just sidetrack here for a second and just talk about how much Bill Watson does sound like a defensive coordinator in the NFL?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, football guy.
Fine.
Full name.
OC
Bill Watson
after his
was
name.
not happy with that last
that
defensive,
defensive
play.
performance.
He would never be a Leslie Frazier.
Carry
then.
on.
This is only for the Bills
No.
fans.
He would never let somebody fuck his wife.
So Mr. Ullman explains to Jack that that there was the last caretaker 10 years previous killed his two daughters and his wife. And Jack Nicholson
Understandable.
seems very unbothered by that. And
Yeah.
they go, I guess, a little bit into Jack Torrance being a teacher, but as Jake and Ian, who have just recently read The Shining, know about how they go a lot further into that whole backstory in the novel of The
Yeah.
Shining.
Yeah, like the subtle, well, not subtle, but like the narration of like them like hating each other almost, like Jack in his mind. I don't know.
Oh,
there's that.
especially that scene. Like, I mean, since we're talking about the opening scene, I mean, in the book, Watson, like Mr. Watson, becomes like a lot bigger of an enemy to Jack in his own mind.
Yeah, yeah.
To where it's like when he has an opportunity for self-sabotage down the road as the caretaker of the Overlook, like it delves into that inner conflict a lot more in the subtext of the
Oh.
book. So
Interesting. So the book goes further into like what Jack's thinking
Oh,
in all these scenes.
yeah, for
Absolutely.
sure. Him and Wendy and
Yeah.
all it's written in such a way that you can follow their inner monologue, like
Yeah.
to where you could see like he thinks Watson's like a condescending prick, like right off the bat, and he's like,
Yep.
he basically is just,
Yeah.
and like I said, later on in the book, that becomes a lot more of a fleshed out idea of Jack's like self-destructing nature, to where it's like even if he's hearing things like later on in the book, it's like, is this me? I feel this like kind of this inner conflict all the time, and now it's manifesting itself, in the real in what he perceives as the real world of the Outlook. So
Wow.
Interesting.
That's very interesting. So the hotel, how in
I
the
just said the
movie,
Outlook.
how long
It's
ago?
the Overlook.
Oh, that
The-
was the Outlook. Hotel.
The Outlook
Whatever.
Hotel.
It-
Outlook Express.
the,
The Microsoft
I didn't
Outlook
get
Hotel.
to, so-
I can't read.
the how long ago was it built?
It was
Like-
built in 1907.
1907. Okay.
Yeah, and that he says that while he
Why-
takes the family on tour.
Yeah.
And then he
Gotcha.
also reveals to them that it was built on an Indian burial ground, which kind of
Dun dun dun.
makes
Yeah.
theory number one about what The Shining is actually about provided from the film Room 237. That theory one, it's an allegory for the Native American genocide by the whites.
Il Whitey.
What does
Yep.
Calumet mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, the cal. I got on my notes. I got peace by bullshit equals Calumet.
Perfect.
So okay. So
what
it
are
was
the
built-
Indian words for that?
I-
Oh, yeah, Calumet.
Shh, 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 shh. I don't speak. I don't speak it. I don't speak it.
So here's my thing, like going into it, right? So like he knows the hotel owner. What's his name again?
Mr.
he's-
Ullman.
He's the manager.
Mr.
And
Ullman.
it's
or,
Ullman.
yeah,
The manager.
Yeah.
Okay, the manager. Like, so like he knew about this like murder and shit, right?
Yeah.
He hired the guy.
But like, yeah. So like, how long ago did that happen? The murder again?
Did I write it down?
I think he says 10 years ago.
Yeah, I think so.
10 years ago. Okay.
Yeah. In the book,
Tragedy-
it was
yeah,
ni-
tragedy-
in the movie, it was
tragedy 10 years
1970.
In the 10 years from that point on to the events in The Shining, were people just going there caretaking and being fine?
I guess.
Was
I
it
think they hadn't had a
is-
caretaker since then.
they hadn't had a caretaker?
Nope, they were just closing it off
Then
for the winter.
who checks the boiler room?
The boiler.
You.
There's
I
no
mean,
boiler room.
especially if you read the novel, the boiler room is
The
a
bunk.
very big
Yeah.
part of it.
In the movie, there's no
Oh.
boiler room, so that's not contact. Like the movie doesn't have that.
No, the movie does.
It does,
Well,
but
yeah.
well,
Yeah, because Shelly's
Yeah,
checking
she's
it.
because she
Or
she's
not
checks
Shelley.
it.
yes,
Oh, yeah.
Because he doesn't do shit.
but
Yeah,
He's just writing, and she's the one who's actually fucking caretaking.
Yeah,
well,
that's
he's
true.
writing.
He-
Tapping on his typewriter.
Yeah, and don't fucking bother him
Yeah.
when he's goddamn writing.
What were you saying?
I forgot
Wendy.
about that. I forgot that he Ullman goes through and shows
Yeah.
Jack that.
But like
Mm.
in the novel, they have you have to continually keep on going back to the boiler to knock it back, or it'll overheat. Because in the book, at the end of the story, the entire hotel blows up because they hadn't checked on the boiler room in enough time. So
Yeah.
My theory is that Ullman is in on it.
Well, Ullman in the novel is the like great grandson of the original builders of the hotel. So,
yeah,
like-
like I think there has been a caretaker every year that has done something similar.
That's conspiracy number
That's-
4.
Is it?
No. Congratulations, Ryan. You're
that's
in
just-
room 237.
yeah.
yeah,
I'm
no,
just-
theory number 4 is about the fake moon landing. You fucking idiots.
Yeah, it didn't happen. We wanted to win a war.
I mean, it seems like they all know something about the caretakers in the wintertime.
Well, that's what I'm
they're-
saying. It's like there had to have been a caretaker there. That's my but my logic is that like
It was the
someone
lady in the
had to have been
bathtub.
there.
She was the one in the middle.
She was one of them,
Yeah.
maybe.
Yeah.
Or just some lady who died in the bathtub. I don't know. But my theory is that like I almost think that Ullman is a projection of the Overlook. Like almost like in on it. Like it's like part of like maybe one of the spirits.
Yeah.
You
That
know?
makes sense.
Like that's because it's like it's just hiring people to come here and do crazy fucking shit.
Yeah, in the book there's
But
there's a
I'll get
cool-
deeper into that later.
There's a cool line in the book about the boiler though that I always like. It's almost like that inner monologue that like Jack hears, like he's remembering Ullman telling him, and he just kept saying, because Ullman said earlier, like she creeps, and I always think that looks so cool in print. She creeps,
Oh,
and that's one of those things. I'm like, you couldn't really do that in the movie, but I'm glad like Kubrick took chances with other stuff to make it as
mhm.
memorably without having that like
Yeah,
like
could you
an easy
imagine if
whisper. She creeps.
they just had like voiceovers, like
Yeah.
of all of Jack's internal monologue is just fucking Jack Nicholson just talking to himself like with like an echo.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, I
that
mean,
would be horrible.
I guess since we're kind of talking, let's talk about how the difference in the character builds between the novels and the film, because Wendy is a very different character in the books
Yeah,
than she
yeah.
in the book than she is in.
Was she hotter in the books?
Yeah, she was
was
like
blonde.
a
Oh.
blonde, like former cheerleader, like
Oh, okay.
like kind of hot, confident mother,
And
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 The
like
opposite
yeah, like
of
I'll
Wendy
s-
Torrance in the movie.
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah, and like I'll say like the thing I didn't like about the movie was like the deteriorating of like Jack as far as like his mental state and stuff. Like they focus on that a lot more in the book than in the movie, whereas like in the movie, like right away, like you get that impression that Jack is just like this low key mad guy, you know? Like,
Yeah, and
so
I
it's
guess like
there
not.
was I had like no like emotional connection with like how I don't know, like how the hotel affected Jack, you know?
Yeah.
mhm.
For sure.
That was
He just
that was
always seemed like a loose cannon.
yeah, like he was just always like his temper was just always off the wall, and it's just like there was never like a he was never like a nice guy to begin with, or
No,
just like a
Yeah.
normal.
I mean,
Yeah, he seemed like a crazy
Yeah.
person right off the
yeah,
bat.
and that
Like he seemed.
Which
in
you
that
know,
car ride with his family talking to his son about the Donner Party, like he's
like
never
he was fed up from
yeah, he's
Yeah.
never
from
like yeah.
From the
He-
jump.
Saw it on TV.
Well,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah,
well,
yeah,
you
like-
should have eaten your breakfast, you piece of shit.
yeah. So it's like Jack was just the same character to me the whole movie, and
Yeah.
that's like I don't
Mm.
know. That was the difference that I got from the book and the movie.
Yeah.
I think
So in the book, did he start out as more of a normal guy?
Well,
for sure.
okay.
That-
Let me pontificate for a little bit.
Be right back. Just looking up.
I was talking to Emily about this about I was talking to Emily about this before because Stephen King does not like this film. This is one of Stephen King's least liked adaptations of one of his works. And I think one of the main reasons is because when you read the novel The Shining, you can tell it's a big allegory for alcoholism and his struggle with that. And basically it seems like the hotel, the Overlook, is kind of like his metaphor for that outside force destroying his family. And
Mm.
and Stephen King being an alcoholic, that obviously is a very personal thing to him. So I feel like he's writing about how this outside force is tearing apart his family in a very empathetic, sympathetic way. And Kubrick is telling the same story in a very cynical way because he has no empathy for addiction and addicted people and stuff like that. And it feels cold because of that.
Definitely.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Because like I think that that definitely makes a lot of sense because I looked at it as the hotel was almost like taking like everyone's got like a dark side, right? Like everyone's has like I think every person in the world in real life like has the potential, has something in them to be evil. You just we have a conscience, we have like the will to be better and stuff like that, and the hotel in this movie almost like took it, like amplified the bad parts of Jack, like it took those like all of his weaknesses and amplified them. And that could be a metaphor for like what alcohol can do. Alcohol can take
Yeah.
your negative qualities and amplify them, and destroy a person. So that would actually make a lot of sense in that sense.
And I think in the book, it seemed like at least I think it's just more of a pace thing, and the realization fleshing out of these characters was both of the characters, and even Danny, like everybody in the Overlook was getting worse. So it was like dark
Right.
clouds were forming, and in the book, like Wendy is kind of like lamenting her relationship with her mother back when they were across, on the East Coast. She's
Go Bills.
yeah, go Bills. She was kind of darkening her view of Jack and her mother, and her kind of monster was building at a similar
Yeah.
pace as Jack's and Danny's. So it was more of an easy progression, and Jack was the same way. It was just like Wendy was kind of worsening because of her relationship with her mother, Jack was remembering the memories of his father. Like even some of the main pushes of the book, like the kind of the more quotables, he was almost like uh possessed by the spirit of his father, like beating his mother or not, and he didn't want to be that way. So it was almost like he was letting himself become a victim of that cycle, like giving into his trauma, and like
Because
everyone was.
That's where the I mean in the book there's a line that repeats a lot where the come and take your medicine. That
Yeah, you
came
damn
from that was a memory of his father, right?
Yep, for sure.
Yeah.
And I think that's more addressed when we get into Doctor Sleep, which we should do, I think, pretty soon after this,
Yeah.
and kind of rehash the same stuff. We'll be going back just like the movie does. I haven't seen it yet, but yeah. So I think that he addresses more because that's more about recovery, and you have to delve back into that trauma.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
And I think Kubrick's cynicism kind of come through also with the casting of Shelley Duvall because like we mentioned before, the Wendy character is in the book is a pretty confident former cheerleader, blonde, beautiful character, and then he cast Shelley
Except the
Duvall, who
opposite.
who's like I think feel like she's perfectly cast because it feels like, at least for me, it feels like somebody that would make excuses for her husband's bad behavior. Like she just sells that so well during
Yeah.
that
Definitely.
first scene where she talks about Jack dislocating Danny's shoulder. Just really sells the it's just things like that happen.
Well, she plays the perfect like pure soul.
Yeah.
She's
Yeah.
Like just somebody who is just optimistic to a fault.
Yeah.
Like and I
Yeah.
will rip on her for like just certain things that are cringy and shit, but
Yeah.
like I do think that she did a fantastic job.
Oh,
in this movie.
Absolutely.
Like I think she was perfectly casted for what I saw the movie as. Now I didn't read the book.
Yeah.
So people who have read the book might say differently.
Yeah.
But like from just watching the movie standpoint, I do believe she was great for the role.
Yeah, and
for
I mean,
sure.
you have to separate the book and the movie,
You-
because they're both, I mean, good in their own ways.
And
so.
Jake had a great point where he said that Kubrick's like almost adaptation, where like it came through in his work how he felt about it, like by casting someone like Shelley Duvall to play almost the complete, the light side of that, like mental breakdown. Like Jack had kind of all of the deteriorating emotions and the like, all of his like mental cues were so dark, and then hers were always a reaction to him. The book was kind of all characters were kind of becoming victims together of the Overlook, but this one just feels like Jack is getting drawn to the Overlook, and Danny and Wendy are on the other side, getting like trying to get out, to where Jack is getting deeper back in. And I think with the time span of a book, you can stretch those out. In a movie, it was a smart move to give release from Jack and bounce back to the victims more.
Yeah, like they almost like make you feel more sorry for the victims by not like bringing up their faults.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like by almost like the way that Wendy is, like you're almost like, well, she's like done nothing wrong in the movie. Did they express a lot of like in the book, did you feel as bad for her? Like with the things that were going on? Like did it
I think
dive?
her,
Because I
I think
know
her
it went
tie.
into.
Sorry. I think
No,
her
no, go
tie
ahead.
with Danny brings you to that place. It's like, well, Danny is still pretty. I mean, I think he's the innocent character of the book. So because but there is a distinctive point in the book where you do kind of feel like, oh, like I think having that inner monologue with both of them, you feel for both the characters more, like to where it's like, well, everyone is just experiencing this together. Jack is just the one with the
Right.
most power.
Yeah.
Yeah, cause like so when Jake did like the intro, he called her like a bitch wife, right? And but like she's like the farthest thing from a bitch. She's just more annoying.
Yeah.
So like, but in the book, is she more of a bitch?
No, I wouldn't say so.
I say there's more opportunity because of the time span for her to like you get more experiences of her like blaming him for stuff to where you can
Mm.
feel it creep into Jack's internal dialogue to where it's like I've been sober for 6 months. I haven't done anything. Why are you still holding this against me? I can kind of see it in your eyes. I mean, you
Mm.
can't do that in the movie as well as the book did, but I think the book did that where it could.
Yeah.
So I feel like you in the book, I don't know. I think you still recognize Wendy and Danny as the ones who need to get out, and she's pushing for that move pretty much from right off from the jump.
Yeah.
So like
Mm.
once she starts to feel unsafe, I think that just it's the same thing with like the panels they use where it's like Monday, Thursday. You're just like the span of time is so short in the movie that you're just like I have to just run with that pace. And I remember first time watching, I didn't really recognize it, but in the book, that pacing is it just has to be different.
Mhm.
To not
Yeah,
answer your
it's-
question.
No, yeah, that's what I answered. I get it. It's interesting that you that you mentioned the panels with the Monday Thursday thing or
yeah.
whatever. That was one of my dislikes.
Oh,
That was
yeah.
one of my things that I hated
Later
it.
that
I don't
evening.
know. Yeah,
mean,
it bothered me.
I love it. Like
Yeah.
I don't know why. Like it's so different. Like
I could
it's
see, yeah.
like I don't know. I have no explanation for it. I
Yeah.
think it's
Yeah, and to
it's-
each their own, but
it's funny in a way.
Yeah.
But it's just
yeah,
like
I was
And again, I
laughing.
didn't
Yeah,
notice
like,
it until
definitely.
I read the book or like looked more into the movie and watched it with a closer eye. Like I don't think I'd catch. I mean, I haven't seen it that many times, but there's definitely and that's praise too. I mean, I gave it an 8 out of 10. That I can go back and catch stuff and learn stuff every time I know I
Mhm.
review it. So,
Yeah, it just I don't know, for some reason the format of it just reminded me of like a skit.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like when they would do like
it's
when
a PowerPoint.
the fast transition. Well, yeah, that was one of the things I had written down in my notes was one of my dislikes was that the intro looked
even the credit roll
the in,
in the beginning.
yeah, the intro looks like it was made with Windows Movie
No,
Maker.
yeah.
Is
No, for
is
sure.
is literally what I
Yeah.
wrote. Like it like I'm like I've done this.
Yeah.
like and I'm not sure. The thing is, I haven't watched a ton of movies from 1980, so I don't really know the technology that they had available to them. And I try not to hold those things
Yeah.
accountable to these movies too much, but at the same time, in my head, I'm like, well, sometimes things that were acceptable then and aren't now, well, they were still bad, even though they were accepted then. Like this, like certain like directing decisions and whatever. Like, it's just because it worked then and doesn't work now. Like it in my mind, it's like, well, the only reason that it was accepted then is because nobody knew better.
Yeah.
Because nobody knew that that was, you know what I mean? Now that you have something better to compare it to, it's like, well, yeah, that was shit.
I do feel
Yeah.
like
You know?
the panels of like the day of the week is just very it makes me think of like a one day later kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. Like
but
SpongeBob's
yeah,
done
It's
that
very
shit.
memey.
So-
but this was before SpongeBob, so
well, yeah. So
it
are we,
may
so
be-
Shining
SpongeBob
made it
hit their
cool.
style.
Everything's
better.
derivative.
yeah.
Yeah. So like that was just like one thing, but like
Yeah.
I mean, it is like, you know, I don't know. Like it's a small thing.
Yeah.
It's not that big of a deal, but it definitely like when I'm finding myself chuckling
That's-
during a horror movie,
Yeah.
Mhm.
I'm like, this is a problem.
That's why the scare
Makes
factor
the
is so
horror movie
low.
good
Sure,
for me.
oh,
I
yeah,
need
yeah.
to giggle a couple times during a horror movie or I'm not enjoying it,
Yeah.
in my opinion. I don't need to be scared the whole time.
Yeah.
I mean, I was scared none
No,
of the times during The Shining, but
I definitely laugh.
I love
most
a little
horror
giggle.
movies.
I mean, what would everybody say is their scariest moment of the film?
I mean, I'll jump in because I'm the resident pussy.
Yeah, go for it.
Um,
Give us all your
it
scary.
was for me. It was very like obviously the zombie bathtub woman.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. The back, like
Um,
when they show the back and it's like melting off.
Yeah, and like when she's and honestly, the sound design there made it less scary because it was cringy.
Mm.
Her laughing
Oh
um
yeah,
Yeah.
sure.
was very like it almost kind of took me out of it. Had there been like a creepier noise in there, it actually might have fucked me up more than it did.
Yeah.
But there was a comical side to it, which kind of you know what I mean. And that obviously wasn't what they were going for. So, but I think I also think it's like really interesting to bring someone down from the high of seeing like a beautiful naked woman to the
yeah.
scariest moment in the movie.
Well, yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, I think that was a like a very like it's such a confusing emotion because like you see like you naturally just see boobs and you're like, oh, sick boobs, and all of a sudden you're like, those are dead boobs.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
fuck you know what I mean? Yeah, like and I think that was like the horrifying part for him too. Like he was even fucked up as crazy and gone as he was.
Yeah.
He like was like, holy shit, I was just like
Not enough
making
beard.
out with a dead girl, and he like didn't even want to talk about it. Like he went back to the room and was like, yeah, there was
Yeah.
nothing there. Which
I'll talk about it.
How many beers?
yeah, you know what I mean? There was totally nothing there. Everything no, totally empty. I don't know.
I will say
Uh,
that scene was like that's probably still my favorite scene though because it's so like
Just the titties.
the like that's obviously the titties. Like it starts with titties, which is a good start to a scene.
Yep.
And then like that's like the only time there are cool special effects or like makeup effects, like the back.
mhm.
I thought
Yeah.
it was so
Oh
cool.
yeah,
Like
they
it's
did it
beautiful.
well. It
Yeah.
looked like a straight up
It looked so good.
like someone who would have died in the bathtub and what they would look like. I don't know
Yeah.
how long it's been. I mean, but I think,
I'd
but
still
yeah,
hit.
just like I still hit it
Still
for
smashed.
sure. He just tallies off another one. He's like, so I've kissed 7 girls now. Okay, we're good. Yeah, I think I don't know. Visually it was kind of freaky looking, and those are the things that stick with me the most. It's like the visually scary shit, like the mind fuck of like how the hotel is affecting Jack throughout the movie is interesting, but it's not scary to me, which is why I rated it 2 boobs out of 10 for scare factor. Because the scary part was the 2 boobs. Obviously, math.
Call.
Yeah, so I just think that there wasn't a whole lot visually scary with it, but that was personally mine. Does anybody
Yeah.
have anything different, or is everyone's the same?
That's mine. I mean, that's the scene that I mentioned earlier that like when I was a kid, I had a friend just explain the scene to me, and that basically just cultivated my fear of something similar to that happening. You know,
Mm.
like
Didn't take a bath for months.
well, no, oddly enough,
He
there's
still won't look at me in the bathroom.
there's
He's
the-
scared of it.
there's a
Get those
scene
titties away from me.
there's a scene in the movie The Faculty that is very similar, and I actually saw that film before I saw this film, and I thought that was realizing my fear, and then I saw The Shining, and then I was like, oh shit, I forgot that this is the movie that my friend was talking about when I was 5 years old, and it's it's definitely that's for me by far the most disturbing, upsetting scene in the film.
What kind of asshole friend is just like telling you about some boobs at 5 years old and then tells you that
We
they're,
know.
like, oh, okay.
We know exactly what kind of asshole friend.
Yeah. It's all right. My brother
story, go for it.
explained the Predator to him, and Predator fucked him up, so
Okay, good.
it all worked out.
What a bitch.
I don't know. Didn't like the Predator.
So are we all in agreement that was the freakiest scene, obviously? Or does somebody else have something else?
Yeah, probably. I
I-
mean, there were like, if you don't like, in a way, jump scares. Like there were like the really quick cut scenes, maybe, but like,
The switch to Tuesday.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that was
what a
Tuesday. No.
Oh, no.
yeah, but like,
I don't like
yeah.
when it's
Garfield
switched to
Mondays.
Monday. We hate Monday.
No, if you hate PowerPoint, then
I think when I think on my recent watches, I can't because that's kind of you can't once it's once it's spoiled, is when Jack first starts losing it and he's coming after his family to annihilate them. It's that suspense to where like every like it's a chase scene in every horror movie, but the killer is
Mm.
finally cornered you and you only have a certain amount of time or space to do something, and he's closing in because of his limp. You know,
Oh, yeah.
him killing Dick, crushing Dick's chest in with an axe.
Yeah, well, I
That-
think that's an anxiety. Like,
And
I
it
think
only
there's a
works the first or second time. You know, because you're just like,
Yeah.
oh, I know they get away.
Yeah,
And
like,
if you know anything about The Shining, even the first time, you're like, well, I'm pretty sure they get away.
Yeah, and I mean,
Or any horror movie.
if you've been attacked by an axe before,
Yeah,
then that could probably
Yeah.
scare you a little bit.
You know.
You know?
I've been
So,
personally attacked by a few axes.
yeah.
They've taken some
What's
weird
that rhyme?
ricochets.
What's that rhyme with the girl who axe murdered her family?
Lizzie
Oh.
Borden took an axe and gave
Lizzie
her
Borden, yeah.
gave her mother 40 bucks when she looked at what she'd done. She gave her father 41.
So cute.
Yeah, there
Yeah,
we
it's
go.
Little
Yeah.
nursery rhyme.
That's what this actually. That's what The Shining was based off of.
Recitation time. No, the Lizzie Borden was she was like one of those killers that does what they see. I
we
can't.
now move on to
She was one of the caretakers.
the
She was
nursery
obviously
rhyme
one
of the
care-
week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nursery rhyme of the week.
I was gonna say one of like my favorite scenes
Okay.
of the movie. I loved I don't maybe this is just the way I interpreted it, but the transition, the camera work, when Wendy and Danny are first exploring the maze outside, and like they're kind of like getting lost, and like they're like looking like, oh, we don't know where we are, or whatever. And Jack's watching, he's looking at the maze,
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
almost like a transition of like, so you see Wendy and Danny are lost in the maze, and Jack is losing himself, like he's getting lost in the hotel, he's getting lost in himself. It's like kind of like a mirror effect or whatever of like, you know, simultaneously like everyone's getting lost in their own way.
Yeah.
And I just thought that was a really cool like visual effect. That's the way I took it. I don't know that if that's the way it was intended, but that's just, you know, something that I just picked up on that I thought was pretty cool. Also, the colors, like the different colors of the rooms,
Oh,
I
yeah.
thought were super interesting.
Yeah, and I mean that's a big Kubrick
Like-
thing too. That's the
Yeah.
colors and the patterns on the floor, the rugs, like
Like so interesting. Like when he goes into the bathroom
Yeah.
and is like talking, I think everything's like what, green in there or
Red.
whatever, or is it red? Yeah, red. The green is the what
It's
what
the
was
Grady
green room?
bathroom with the dead chick.
Yeah. So like everything's just like this like same color, and it was just like it just sticks out so much because like if you walked into someone's house and they had that room, you'd be like, this is fucking like hideous. You know what I
Oh,
mean?
yeah.
Like there's too much of this color, whatever. But like on the screen, it looks so interesting, and I really liked it. It's just something that just kind of hit me that like makes the scenes very
for
memorable.
sure.
Mm-hmm.
That's like
As I forget what color the room was.
yeah.
Super memorable.
Can't forget it. I think that's one of those things too that Kubrick does. I mean, if I was king, I mean, I wouldn't be offended by the movie because he takes stuff from the book that you really can't do that would look even stupider and says that I love the idea of that, but it would look stupid as hell if I tried that on screen. So
Yeah.
here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna take your like in the scene. There's a really good. I mean, there's a whole section of the book called the Wasp's Nest,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that type of stuff you have to cut from the movie, but Kubrick does it with other stuff like the labyrinth isn't in the which is also I thought that was cool pointing that out. Like I should have seen this originally, but I didn't know it until Room 237. Like his tie is like the labyrinth too. It was like until someone pointed that out, I'm like, oh, I would have just kind of I think it's done well in the movie. You're supposed to get it, but I'm like, oh, I just didn't pick up on that.
Yeah.
But he
Mhm.
takes those visual elements and makes them like almost replaces the things in the book that you just couldn't do. Like the animal, like the hedge maze is a replacement
hedge animals,
for
yeah.
the topiary. So, you know, there's stuff that I think Kubrick saw the work and said, I think I can make that cooler and more memorable, and I think he did that.
Yeah.
Except the boiler. Like the boiler in the book is like, but again, there's other stuff that, but nothing creeps.
One thing that there's a couple things I was confused about.
Hit on.
And I know that this movie was supposed to have inconsistencies that were on purpose. But there were things that I was like, what would the point of that fuck up be? And so the one I have is, so when he's been off the booze for 5 months, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Is what they say.
He's on the wagon.
Okay. But then the injury to Danny happened 3 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
She made mention that after Jack hurt Danny, that he stopped drinking immediately, which would have been 3 years ago.
I was wondering
But
about
then-
that too. I
Yeah.
don't really understand that.
I mean, I get
In
like
the book-
again.
I'm just-
Okay, yeah.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
No, go by the book because, like, no, honestly,
The book,
'cause
she
I-
broke his arm, and I think it was more recent.
Okay.
There was no 3-year context. It was he broke his arm and he laid down the bottle right then and there.
So
Oh,
do you think that was an unintentional
Just
fuck up?
hoping you don't pick up on that in the movie. Probably.
see, like I feel like I remember. I mean, I haven't like read the book in a long time, but I feel like I remember that he had bouts of going on and off the sauce with because he had that one drinking buddy.
Yeah.
Whatever, but I could be
The same guy who got
I
him the
just-
job at the Overlook, Al Shockey.
Oh. Yeah, if I remember it, like, did you say he broke his arm like 3 years ago? And he was
Yeah,
like,
like the injury happened 3 years ago,
Yeah.
but then she said he immediately stopped drinking, but then he's only been sober for 5 months.
yeah,
Yeah,
she
is
said
what
he
said.
swore he would never touch it again, and he's been sober for 5 months. And yeah, that doesn't like. add
Yeah,
up.
I feel like he
Yeah.
like I said, I could be remembering completely. I feel like he fell off the wagon when he got fired, but maybe I'm
Oh.
remembering.
I'm calling it. I'm calling it right now. Ryan's continuity error of the week. Right there.
It-
That's not really.
I mean, there's a
continuity error, that's
couple
more
in
of a
this
fuck up.
movie. so-
Actually, no, there is. There is another one though. There is and so okay, so if that one doesn't stick, I did have one that I am almost positive was not intentional and was a continuity error, an actual by definition continuity error, and it is when Danny is eating his sandwich.
Oh.
If you watch the scene closely, while Danny is eating the sandwich, as the camera pans back and forth from Wendy to Danny, the sandwich is in various states of being eaten. And at some points, it even goes back to it, and the sandwich is less eaten than it was in the previous scene.
Yeah.
I mean, the kid
Boom!
was
Yeah.
probably
There you
paid
go.
in sandwiches.
Yeah.
So,
and also,
you know.
also
He's
that
probably eating
scene.
4 sandwiches at that
They're
point.
like, sit on your
Yeah, and I
He's
mean that
so
scene
full.
probably took 100 times
Oh,
to
yeah.
like make with Cooper.
Exactly.
shouting
Just
at
They only
everyone.
had so much sandwich meat.
He had eaten 7 sandwiches at that point. They're
Oh.
like, "Can you stop fucking up?"
Yeah, that's where the
He's like, "I'm
budget-
so full."
They're
Yeah,
like,
where the
just don't
budget
take any
came from.
bites. Just pretend to chew. Like,
Have
Yeah.
Tony eat the
And
sandwiches.
the other,
Yeah.
All right. Well, I mean, I guess we got to go into some of these theories about what this movie's really fucking about.
Oh, sure.
So
Right.
we've already did number 1, which is the Native American genocide.
Mhm.
Theory number 2 that Room 237 posits is it's an allegory for the Holocaust.
Oh.
Okay.
which
And-
is like a very similar
Possible.
thing, like allegory. If it's about the Holocaust, it's about the Holocaust of the Native Americans. Like, I feel like that goes hand in hand.
yeah, I mean, like
You're just
like-
whitewashing the original story, just stealing it.
no, I
Yes.
mean, some people
figure.
just
Make
act
it
like
for yourself when it's about. No.
some people just act like it was just about the atrocities of man and how
Well, yeah.
we don't like, even though we see tragedy happen and we still approach it, and like so it's very possible that, I mean, if one
Yeah.
theory is true, that the other one is also true.
Yeah, it's a bit of Holocaust.
Interesting choice for like a movie to, trying to hold a mirror up to society to also drop the N-bomb 3 times.
Oh, yeah.
I don't
But I
remember
mean,
that.
I digress. You
You
don't
don't remember
no.
the end?
But it was 3 times and it was super, super loud.
Yeah, it got
Yeah.
worse every time they said it.
You're like, oh, oh
I don't
my god.
I don't hear hate.
Yeah. He doesn't. He
It's-
doesn't.
Wait.
I turn a blind eye. to
Holy
I thought-
crap! No, I mean
Was-
I don't see color.
Edit this out.
Yeah, edit all of this.
Uh,
We
um,
talked about this before.
So I know. I said I wasn't gonna bring it up, but I can always got it. But, so my theory, I don't even know if this is on the list of theories, but my personal theory, I think that the hotel is omnipresent. I think the hotel exists in all periods of time and knows all things. I think
Here's all
that
things.
it's alive. I think that that's the reason why Jack Torrance was in a picture back in what 1912 or whatever it was. Like I think that the
I think it was the 30s.
or what yeah whatever it was either way like
right.
long before they were
1912
dead.
is when the Titanic set sail or something like that.
I think
Alright.
that
Thinking
I think all events of the hotel are in a way simultaneously happening.
Wow.
Okay.
Like a simulation.
Yeah, like it's almost like
Sure.
and the hotel is just collecting things like events, like horrible tragedies that are happening, like almost like imprints them, projects them. So like when people are seeing like things that happened in the past and stuff like that, it's just because like that's just like this hotel exists throughout time. It doesn't it's infinite. Like you know what I mean? It just like it always has been there, always will be. And anybody who enters it and is taken over by it or whatever just becomes part of that infinite pantheon. So that's my
I
theory.
mean, that's
but
what I got from like the last scene when it pans out, I feel like.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if that's actually what it's supposed to be, but yeah. I mean, obviously when it pans out from the picture, like,
Yeah, like who else is in that picture?
Yeah.
You know.
I think it's all the
It's
caretakers.
like everybody
Like,
at the
like,
same
honestly,
time.
Yeah, like,
Like-
that's what I mean. It's
Like-
like
Yeah.
there's
that's
so
why
many
I'm saying
people.
like
They've always
that's where I
been
was
the
saying like
caretaker.
Ullman, like
Yeah.
Ullman, yeah, like you
They
and
will always
you
be and have
are
always been.
you have adopted this persona that everybody else
Hey, we're all
has
just got a job, man. We're all just going to work. You know?
Yeah, exactly. Like you're just another
We clock in, we clock
Yeah.
out. We have
you
a
have
nervous
become
breakdown.
a cog in the machine that is the Overlook Hotel. Is that like a popular theory? Is that something that I just kind of spit out?
I have not heard that. I mean, Room 237 is a movie about nerds for
I mean,
nerds.
Why
nerds.
why else is Jack pictured in that picture at the end?
Well, I mean, I know that one of the quotes of Stephen King is I don't know exactly how it works, but like or how he words it, but it's something to the effect of things that are unexplained are scarier. And I wrote down a quote of Kubrick during that I heard during the special features of the making of The Shining, where he says real is good, interesting is better. So I think he's just not super interested in continuity and stuff
See,
like that.
that's exactly how I
so that
feel.
sounds like
That's how I feel about the entire movie. That he's just trying to make things interesting, which
He's
is
swinging
fun
his
to
dick
watch.
around.
Yeah,
that sounds
it
like a
just seems
cop
like
out.
it seems like being. It's like the beginning of highbrow horror where you're just doing shit for the sake of doing shit, which is fun to watch.
Well, yeah, because imagine. Okay, listen, you can use that phrase with almost anything. Because I could walk up to somebody at a restaurant, pick up their plate of food, smash it on the ground, look them in the eyes, and be like, "Things that aren't explained are scarier," and walk away.
I'm an
And, like,
artist.
And then
You'd be right.
I'm
Yeah.
a
get arrested.
visionary.
I mean, yeah.
And they're like, "Oh my god, that was
I
terrifying."
mean,
I'm
honestly,
like,
that is like the thought process of most artists.
Modern art.
I guess. Yeah.
yeah, like, and
Don't
I
get me
think that
fired from my
maybe-
job, but
maybe the point was to ignite all of these theories.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? To make it just vague enough that, honestly, the tagline for this movie should be like, if you have to ask, you'll never shine.
Yeah.
This is how we invented MK Mine.
You know what I mean?
that's
You know what
the
I mean?
title.
Like, it's like, yeah,
Do a
like
title of our
I just
episode,
think
honestly.
if you have to ask, you'll never shine. I think that like maybe the point was to be like, You don't know what the fuck's going on, and honestly, we don't either.
Everything
But there's some
shines.
freaky shit going on. Yeah. If it rains, it shines.
I do think
Yeah.
the one of the interesting things from the room 237 was that when what's his name? Is it Mr. Halloran or Halloran is driving up to the Outlook, he sees a is it a red Volkswagen that's crashed?
Mhm.
And that's the car that they drove, like the family did up to the
Mhm.
Outlook, and that's like Stanley Kubrick's fuck you to
Stephen King.
Stephen King,
Yeah.
like that
Oh,
he's
yeah.
taking the reins, and I thought that's like my favorite.
Oh.
Yeah,
Like with the when the semi was overturned or
yeah,
whatever.
Yes.
it's like on the car that they drove in the
Yeah.
book.
In the book, their Volkswagen was red.
Oh my
In the
god.
movie, it's yellow.
Mm-hmm.
And
So it's
even
almost like
going,
he had the foresight to know that like this is not going to be received well by the original writer.
Yeah, he's like, I'm
But-
taking
Well,
the
Coop-
reins of
uh,
family.
Yeah, Stephen King wrote a script for Kubrick for this film, for The Shining, and Kubrick did not like it and rejected it. So, like, I think he already knew that what Stephen King wanted to highlight as far as the story and as far as the elements of the story were not what Kubrick wanted to reflect. In fact, through watching the special features of the film,
We love special features.
I found I
The DVD menu.
Yeah.
I found out that
Big fan.
Kubrick was inspired by a story that he had read as a young man called The Blue Hotel. And I did not read the short story, but I went to summary.com and it gave me a summary of the story. And I pulled a quote from about a summary of The Blue Hotel. And the quote reads as: "The story is ironic because the Swede fears losing his life, but his attempts to escape death only drive him closer towards it. Crane, the author, leaves it for us to decide if the Swede's attitude and actions trap him in an environment that ultimately kill him, or if the environment is the trap. We do not know if nature is cruel and indifferent to humankind, or if our ideas about the environment are our undoing." So I feel like that's a very revealing way of how Kubrick was approaching the story of The Shining, about how you don't know whether or not Jack Torrance is taken over by the hotel or if it's just kind of like a catalyst for what he was going to do regardless, you know.
I think the movie, to me personally, makes it seem like he was going to do it regardless, but it just almost rapidly increased the timing.
Yeah.
Like it was almost like at some point in time he was gonna kill his family.
Yeah.
yeah,
Like because of how like cold and like, and I don't know. To be honest, I haven't seen a ton of Jack Nicholson's movies, but I think he is so unbelievable as a normal guy. Like he just seems so off like all the time.
The
So I don't know if that was a casting choice or if that's just the way
Joker and
I
anger
don't know.
management. Like he's
Yeah,
an unhinged
like,
guy in a way.
One Flew Over the Cuckoo's
Yeah,
Nest.
exactly.
Yeah.
So to me, like watching him from the very start and like the car ride
Yeah.
there or whatever, I'm like, this is a man who was gonna kill his
Exactly.
family.
And honestly, that's
Like-
that's what brings me to the point where I was like, I just felt like there was just a madman the whole movie.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
casting of Jack Nicholson, which I think Stephen King also was like, he didn't like the casting of Jack Nicholson in a way. 'Cause,
Yeah.
like, I think
I-
I think
I-
Stephen
I-
King hated the movie similarly to why I don't like the movie as much. Like I like the movie, but that was the one part I didn't like about it was it just like from this first minute, like Jack Nicholson was just crazy. But,
Yeah, especially interacting with his family. Like he's
exactly.
okay during the interview, but once he's with his
Yeah.
family, you're like, what the fuck?
yeah,
Yeah, there's not a ton of like
Yeah.
character development. It's just how they are the entire time.
yeah.
I
And-
think Kubrick
Like-
worked with the clay he had he's like, well, here's an obvious star, agreed upon. And he was like, I have to make this thing cool.
Yeah.
Again, it's like someone covering a song and being like, look, we got a great singer. Our guitarist is shit. So if this song has a good solo, maybe let's highlight what we got. Let's make the features here pop. Not
Well-
that I'm saying the other the other cast didn't pop, but he changed what he needed to fit the artists he had.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
I
apparently,
mean-
pretty well.
apparently Kubrick wanted to do a film about Napoleon, and Jack Nicholson was his first choice for that to
Yeah.
play Napoleon Bonaparte, and that's kind of what transitioned into why he picked him for Jack Torrance in The Shining. Ironically enough,
Mm.
Yeah, and I
Mm.
mean, Jack Nicholson has that sinister type look to him too. So I mean, it is a good character for him too. You know, it's just I don't know.
Yeah, I just
I-
think that if he was supposed to be playing a normal
Yeah.
guy, he did it wrong.
Yeah,
You know what I
sure.
mean? Like, it's like if you were supposed to be portraying somebody who didn't want to kill his
Yeah.
family,
Yeah.
you looked like somebody who was going to kill your
Yeah.
family. Like maybe it would have
Scene
taken a couple more
Yeah.
years. Yeah, like I think like maybe if the hotel wasn't involved, like they probably would have had a couple more years.
Yeah.
Like,
But eventually, it was going to happen.
if you get like an eyebrow wax, maybe your family would have a couple more years. But like,
Yeah, but then how will we rate our
No.
movies?
that's true. That's true. Yeah.
If
we
they
need
could have
those.
made it to the West Coast, like the Donner
Need the
Party
eyebrows.
didn't,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah,
they,
they
they
knew
about
stopped
that,
in the
though.
mountains. They don't stop in the
Yeah.
Rockies or the Sierra Nevadas for that.
That's
for
the
that.
real story.
Star
Is
of the show.
they talked about the Donner Party and they didn't learn from them.
Great
Right.
eyebrow game though.
Great idea.
It really is.
I don't know. It's got
The
Andy
Donner
Dalton
you're talking
Very-
about?
No, I mean they may have had good eyebrows. I don't know. I haven't
I know.
looked at their eyebrows.
Not a
Looks
trace
like
of
it.
them.
But
I
Jack
barely
though-
watched The Shining.
all right. Well, I guess we're not doing a very good walkthrough of the film, but
Oh, yeah.
but everyone's seen The Shining.
We'll get
People
better.
know
Yeah,
it.
guys,
People know
go
it.
watch it.
Yeah.
Go watch it.
Does anyone have
Go
a
watch
favorite
it.
line or something that they wrote down?
Yeah. Does anybody have a favorite note that they wrote down?
I wrote down that all of the outfits that I saw that I liked. I loved Mr. Allman, the manager. If you don't remember, he had some very sassy red pants and a leather jacket when he was walking them around, and I thought that was very nice.
Was he the boner guy or was
He's the
that somebody
boner
else?
guy,
Yeah,
yeah,
he's the
for
boner
sure.
guy.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
yeah. I thought that was a statement, and I don't know how it relates to the movie, and I don't know why he dressed like that, but I liked it. It excited me.
Yeah,
That's
I
it.
mean, to go along with that scene, I mean, I think I had like one quote written down, and that was when Jack was like 5 months of peace is all I want or something like that. You know
Mm,
that
yeah.
that,
Can relate to that.
resonated. But yeah,
Yeah.
I personally did not like. I don't know, relate to too many of the characters in the movie, other than
Yeah.
Jack selling his soul for a drink. That's
Yeah.
I think my favorite note I took was can I go to my room to get my fire engine
oh yeah.
is my new code for masturbation. So
Yeah.
whenever I go get my fire engine,
You're
Oh,
my fire engine.
watch
that's
out.
so good.
If you be so
Um,
super quiet,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
can.
Yeah, if you don't make any fucking
Don't wake up your father.
Imagine if that's what he actually wanted to do when he just saw his dad up
Yeah.
and he's like, fuck.
Fire
Dad's
engine.
using the internet.
I can't touch myself.
This is the one room that we
I-
get Wi-Fi.
This is
I
where I
hate
my
that you're
neighbor's
here.
Wi-Fi.
Makes me want to kill my family.
I've done that. I've got my neighbor's Wi-Fi.
Yeah, I mean, I used to stand at
Uh,
the end of my driveway because my neighbor had Wi-Fi,
Yeah.
and my parents.
just load up a quick
Oh
Pornhub
yeah,
video real quick
download
and run
some-
back.
Yeah,
to your-
download some pictures
That's what the movie was an allegory for.
for sure.
stealing your neighbor's
Yeah,
Wi-Fi for porn.
That's John.
My thing that I liked a lot was not really a quote, but more of just like the sound of some things. Like the things I had written down were like, I really like the sound of the big wheel.
Oh
Like, when he's,
yeah,
like,
No,
yeah,
I
rolling.
yeah.
literally wrote
Yep.
that down. That it was so satisfying
Yeah.
to listen to him riding
Yeah.
around.
Well,
And when it rolls over the carpet for a second,
Yes.
and like when you hear like the
Oh,
Oh
yeah.
my goodness.
well,
No, and I mean,
like it goes back.
yeah.
one
I mean,
interesting. I'm sorry, go Ian.
No, I was just gonna say like the soundtrack is like perfect, but like there are so many like audible sounds in that movie that if I was watching
Mhm.
a video online about if those like sounds were cut off, like how dog shit that movie probably could have been.
Yeah,
Like with
yeah.
Like
Yeah.
when they do
It just
music videos with like
yeah,
the sound
oh
of
yeah,
music off.
yeah, like the High School Musical, just like pounding on like a bunch of pans and
Uh,
Well, one
So
thing.
you agree that High School Musical is amazing with the sounds?
Oh, with
absolutely,
the
yeah, with the
sounds.
singing
Alright.
and the
We'll
yeah.
review. Next movie, number
Oh, yeah,
3
High School
after
Musical.
Doctor Sleep is
That is
High School
horror.
Musical.
Terrifying.
Well, one thing about The Shining is that it's Kubrick employed the guy that actually invented the Steadicam, and that's how they
Yeah.
shot a lot of those scenes.
I thought you were gonna say the
Yeah.
big
The
wheel.
No,
Yeah.
and well, when they shot that big wheel scene through watching the special features, because they flipped the Steadicam upside down, so it was like 4 inches from the ground when they shot that scene, and they did not realize they didn't expect it to pick up the noise of the wheel
Oh wow.
until they watched the
That's so
footage
cool.
backward, back.
Yeah.
Weren't expecting that to be a
good
such a good
sounds.
sound or whatever until they watched all the
Damn.
footage back. So that wasn't even intentional when they first shot it.
That's a great
Nice.
factoid.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Okay, what other segments do we have?
Segment. I mean, I got my porn clip of the week. So you're like,
Oh.
so I mean, if we're done doing the walkthrough of the film, which we did a great job of.
Yeah, we really very canonical, very straight
Yeah.
through beginning to
I
end.
think next
you
time we
guys.
can write something out more.
Yeah.
This is off
Yeah.
air.
Like I said, we'll all get better at this.
Yeah. I didn't do a lot. I should have done a lot more legwork. I didn't really know how it was gonna like.
Also, though,
the
with this
segments were
movie,
gonna
like
work and-
everybody knows how this movie goes. Like,
Yeah.
we
Yeah,
can if we
right.
talk about random parts of it, like we're gonna know. Like, most people know
Yeah.
what is happening.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's almost like we're having a conversation with the listener as a friend would talk
Yeah.
about a movie.
Sure.
If you're a listener,
mean? Like,
you guys are friends.
You're a friend.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, you're a friend.
Well,
Friend.
as
You're not
as most
cool
my
as us.
as most of my friends may know, I'm very perverted, and Jake and I
Dirty boy.
always made jokes about we would quote films and then we would make blowjob noises afterwards, and it always made us giggle. So I prepared a clip for this movie and for every movie, going forward, of what I picked was the funniest transition to a porn scene. So if you guys all want to take a shot at what you think I chose for this week for The Shining.
I'll jump in and I'm gonna say this one's obviously on the nose, but it made me chuckle when you told us you were gonna do this segment before we watched the movie, so I was looking out for it. And as soon as I heard Danny say, "He's a little boy that lives in my mouth," and pictured wah, 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 like afterwards, I died. So that's my
Low hanging
guess.
fruit.
Yeah, it was low hanging fruit for sure, but that was the that was the
I
scene.
had that one as well, and I should have gotten a second, like a pickup.
I know,
Funny,
right?
yeah, because I mean, we were kind of talking about this before we did like this recording, and that was the one I had too.
Oh yeah.
That was yours,
Yeah,
Ian,
I should
too.
have thought of it.
Oh yeah, well that was my number one, but also I probably fell asleep like shortly after that. scene.
Okay. So your second one was like you snoring or something
Yeah,
like
no.
that?
So yeah, so like I had another one where like there was the bathroom scene with Delbert Grady, the butler or whatever, and they were explaining how Danny had like that power, like he knew of the power. I have it written down here. I'm trying to find
I mean, you could go with like the dick
Alright.
send me a blast one.
and so I'm sorry. So yeah. So it said Delbert Grady was telling Jack that his son had a very great talent and it was going to be used. He was going to use that talent against his will, and
Oh, that's good.
and
Ooh.
Delbert Grady
Spicy.
was like, "Your son's a rather naughty boy."
Oh.
He's very
That's good.
something. He's
Yeah,
very
yeah.
Mine was when
willful.
Jack was in the walk-in and he said, "You have no idea what's coming your way," and then the
The coming. Oh yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
You guys all picked way better ones than I picked.
That's
All right. So Jake, yours is the same as Ryan's.
Yeah, mine was the same as Ryan's, but also I think Dick Halloran's like "Give Me a Shot, Kid."
Oh yeah.
Mm.
You guys,
Yeah, 'cause
all right. I had a few contenders. The entire filming or entire watching of it, I kept on writing down different quotes. The little boy that lives inside of my mouth was one of the quotes. And you guys all got very, very close to what I picked. What I picked is about a 40-second long clip, so bear with me.
damn.
Okay.
Excited.
Bourbon on the rocks. That'll do her.
oh, I think this is the one.
No choice.
When he
Mrs.
spills it
Torrance.
on him.
No charge? Your money's no good here.
Okay.
Oh dear, I'm so sorry, sir. Oh dear, dear. I made an awful mess of your jacket, sir.
Oh, that's all right. I've got plenty of jackets.
Yep.
I like that it keeps going afterwards.
I didn't.
That's my
I didn't
favorite.
know how to explain
Yeah.
this scene. Like,
I wasn't expecting that. Oh, I've made an awful mess of you,
yeah,
Jack.
I just. Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah.
Okay, so all right, so for me, my number one the entire time, like for like we reviewed Emily and I watched the film, we both took our notes. I thought about it for a long time. For the longest time, my sound bite was gonna be, well, you shouldn't ate your breakfast when Danny says he's hungry in the car ride, and then it was gonna transit. But then I felt bad about implying that that Danny was blowing his father.
There's a
So-
child.
Andy Torrance.
So I decided to go with
The woke up.
I decided to go with the Jack blowing the bartender all of a sudden turning British, and then and then him coming on Jack's jacket. So
That is interesting because that adds a whole nother dynamic to the segment.
Yeah.
Because now you can almost jump.
Yeah.
You could jump from quote to quote throughout the movie.
I thought about
you know what I
blue
mean?
cross this whole
Separated.
movie.
That's all I was
Yeah.
thinking about.
You
I
can
was
almost
tempted.
sell it as an entire adult film.
Yeah, I got nothing out of
It's
the,
fully
this movie.
fleshed out.
The only problematic part of that scene that you were laying out, Jake, with Danny and Jack in the car was that the Volkswagen was yellow instead of red. That was the major issue.
Oh, Stanley
today.
Kubrick's
Uh,
just sucking.
You got us, Stanley.
I hate that guy.
all right,
Oh, that was good.
all right.
That was a great one.
Well, I guess that's it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
All right, all right.
We
Good
did it.
Good.
We did our first
That's it,
episode.
First episode. We'll
This
be
is the first
back.
one I showed up for.
First one he showed up for. First one he'll ever show up for.
You guys will never hear from me again.
One of one.
Signing off. This
He's
is
the best
Jake
part of the
Ryan.
podcast, and he'll
Yeah.
never come back.
Only successful
Don't
podcasts
follow
are
me.
The ones that Jake shows up for.
Yeah.
Nothing to
Uh,
plug.
Well, we'll be back next
Don't
week.
follow.
We'll be back.
We have nothing to plug. The only thing I'm plugging is this podcast. Just subscribe
Better.
to it.
Yeah,
Tell your
yeah,
friend.
yeah. Get on the Facebook group.
Tell
Follow
your
us on
friends.
Instagram.
Shout out Tito's Vodka.
Shout out Tito's Vodka.
Sponsor us. Jaegers will power Jake through this
Jägermeister.
whole thing.
It's giving me charisma, even though I don't have any. I got like 20% charisma, and that's all from Jaeger. So thank you.
Wait, you have 2 out of 10 Jack Torrance eyebrows charisma.
Thank you.
You guys know that's what Riz means?
Yeah.
Charisma? I just
Riz?
Riz means charisma.
2 points, Mariz.
Like RZA.
Rizza.
Like Rizma, like the end of like
Yeah, like-
charisma.
Riz.
Like
Like I got
Oh, like
Riz.
that
Yeah.
swag
I've never heard that
promo.
I like
before.
that internet.
I've never heard it either. Is that like an internet
Yeah,
thing?
It's a cool
The-
thing now.
Yeah, it's like a
Yeah. All right,
Yeah.
Taking
guys.
in our
Tons of
cool
Riz.
existence.
We'll
get with
So-
the times.
Come on.
we'll be back next week with our review of Doctor Sleep. Emily and I will be watching the director's cut. I don't know what you guys will be watching.
I'm gonna
I'm
listen to the
definitely-
book.
The book
You're
was
gonna listen
great.
to the book?
I don't know. We'll see.
I will be watching the TV logo on the bottom of my TV whenever scary parts come up, because that's what I do. I just pretend like I'm still watching the movie, but I just like look at the LG sign.
That's what Nick tells Danny to do in the book. He tells him not like if you look away, close your eyes, and then look, it'll be gone. And then
You
that
are
is not
you're-
what happens in the book.
you're our sweet little Danny in this story.
Yeah.
Thank
Yeah.
you, Mrs. Torrance.
Just
we
look
didn't-
away, close your eyes real
We
tight.
didn't do any sort of red rum in this episode or anything.
We didn't. I don't think it needs to be
No,
talked
it's fine.
about.
It's overdone. It's
We're
overdone.
not.
We're too cool for that.
Oh shit.
Alright.
Okay. Well, yeah, we're signing
Alright.
off.
Cool.
All right.
We'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye. Go Bill.
Peace.
We love Leslie Frazier.